The reality is that the Western European countries are so hypocritical. They are so hypocritical because they say that they stop buying oil from Russia, which is not true. They are still buying oil from Russia, but not directly, but through certain Asian countries. If you look at the statistics, you will see the extent how much Western European countries have increased their oil imports from certain Asian countries. And we all know that this is Russian oil.
The European Union continue funding Russian war against Ukraine because they continue to buy more Russian oil. And I agree with Donald Trump 100%. Donald Trump refused to sanction Russia. According to him, the West must first of all stop buying Russian oil first in order for him to impose sanctions on Russia. So the Americans continue to trade with Russia. So you see, every country is looking at their own interest. Japan continue to buy a lot of LNG from Russia. China, India, but I don't know why these guys are only fixated on India and China. But the fact is, the European Union is also buying a lot of oil from the Russians, which the Russians use this money to fund their war in Ukraine. So automatically, it is European Union who is funding the war in Ukraine. It is clear. This is common sense. Yes, about Hungary. You see, Donald Trump said he was going to talk to Viktor Orban for Viktor Orban to stop buying Russian oil and gas completely. That is why the foreign minister came out and said this is a bit hypocritical because the West is still buying oil from Russia. They only go this way. They go round and come back to the same thing. They are buying more oil from Russia, but through other means. Saudi Arabia is selling oil to Western European countries, but Saudi Arabia, for some reasons, they are buying oil from the Russians. So they buy this oil and sell it back to Western European countries. You get a point? Even India, who they are all trying to crucify, the West buy oil from India. And we all know where the Indians get their oil from. They get it from Russia. So Donald Trump said he was going to sanction Hungary for buying Russian oil. Today, according to Donald Trump, he spoke to Viktor Orban. When he looked at Hungary's situation, Hungary have no option than to buy from Russia. Unlike other Western European countries, they can buy oil through ships. But when you look at Hungary, take the map and look at where Hungary is located. Hungary is a landlocked country. So Hungary cannot ship in oil or gas. So during Donald Trump's press conference, a journalist asked him about the Hungary situation. And this is what he said.
Did everyone agree to stop buying Russian oil?
I don't want to say that, but if I want him to, he will. Yeah.
But he didn't take that assurance.
Well, I didn't say, okay, you stop, but I believe you. I believe he will stop it, yeah.
Did you make it
You know why? Because he can buy from a lot of other people. He can buy from a lot of other people. You know who really can't is Hungary. Hungary's got, they're landlocked, and they don't have a nice ocean where ships can sail in from all over the world. They have one pipeline coming. Because I spoke with, he's a great guy, he's a great friend of mine, but, that's a harder one for them. And Slovakia, too. They're sort of married to one pipeline. So I just don't want to have people go blaming them when, we spoke to them at length today, and it seems like that, for them it's a little, but that's Turkey has a lot of options. He's a great president, a very smart man, and he's going to take, he's going to do what's right. But we had a very good conversation having to do with the purchase of military equipment, etc.
We have not yet received even a dime from YouTube. All the videos I post here is free. It will take time before I start getting paid by YouTube. And one of the best ways to support me is to hit on the like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. And if you wish to support what I do here, check in the description. My PayPal account is there. Anybody who wants to support me, thank you. So Hungary signed a gas deal with the Russians, which is equivalent to somewhere 10 billion euros. So Hungary cannot just abandon this deal and just, take on anti-Russian stance. No. Well, quite interesting. So according to Donald Trump, well, he's not going to sanction Hungary again. Hungary have no option. So they have to continue buying more oil from Russia. So, well, this is another big win for the Russians. So a lot is happening around the world. I'm going to give you guys most of the updates in this video. We'll talk about the Sarkozy story. Sarkozy, former France president, who was part of the elimination of Muammar Gaddafi, today is jailed 5 years. We'll talk about that. But before that, let's talk about what Bloomberg posted. The same Bloomberg that was predicting the downfall of the Russian economy today is telling the whole world that It is rather Western European economies that is rather collapsing. The Russian economy is doing absolutely well. So this is what Bloomberg posted. They said, Germany auto industry to eliminate nearly 100,000 jobs by 2030. Volkswagen, AG parent back production, and Robert Bosch slashing 13,000 jobs shows how German auto industry is declining. Okay, you see, while Germany economy is declining, their president or their vice chancellor, is preparing for war against Russia. Quite interesting. Car maker and their suppliers are struggling with warming demand, high labor and energy costs, and intensifying competition from fast-moving Chinese manufacturers. Overall, German auto sector has lost roughly 55,000 jobs over the past 2 years, according to VDA Trade Group. Germany brought this problem upon themselves. Germany economy was doing fine. They were buying Russian oil. And I've told you guys before that the main reason why Germany economy was doing well because they were getting cheap oil and gas from the Russians. Even after Second World War, when Germany economy was struggling, the Soviet Union was selling cheap oil and gas to Germany. And it has been part of Germany's success story. But for some reason, Germany decided to go full anti-Russia. And here we are. Their economy is now struggling. Whilst the economy is struggling, their vice chancellor, look at what he's saying. Men's back plans for 140 billion loan to help defend Ukraine. So your economy needs money, and you are here talking about giving Ukraine 140 billion euros. Let's go into the full details of the story. Germany Vice Chancellor Friedrich Merz supported EU initiative to provide Ukraine with an interest-free loan of almost 140 billion euros using frozen Russian assets to strengthen country's defense capabilities, Bloomberg writes. So this is also from Bloomberg again, right? Okay, Merz believe that the funding should send a clear signal to Moscow and ensure Ukraine military reliance for several years. The loan will be repaid after Russia compensate for damages. My people will say, who pay what? Russia is not going to pay a dime. That is the fact. Did NATO pay Serbia when they entered Yugoslavia, bombarded Yugoslavia, and divided Yugoslavia into two? Did they compensate them? Did they compensate the people of Libya? Did they compensate the people of Iran? Did they compensate the people of Afghanistan? Did they compensate the people of Vietnam? So Russia is not going to pay a dime. Now, this frozen Russian asset, which is around 300 billion, is kind of like a guillotine around the necks of Western Europeans. The money is there, but they are debating over the money. They can't give the money to Ukraine because most of these EU countries, there are laws in these countries that prevent them from taking foreign assets just like that. So the money is there, but these guys continue to fight over the money. Now, even if this 300 billion all is given to Ukraine, it is not going to make any big difference. I've told you guys this before, that when you look at Ukraine current deficit, they need trillions of dollars. And to make matters worse for them, they've lost the richer part of Ukraine, which was the ethnic Russian-speaking side. Russia continued to capture more and more territories, and we all know the obvious outcome. Russia is going to take over all these territories, leaving Ukraine with nothing. That is a fact. Russia have a very big economy, and 300 billion I don't think is going to make much difference in the Russian economy. The point is, when they take this Russian money, it is sending a bad signal to the rest of the world that, look, the West can be trusted. That is why today more and more countries are not leaving their reserve currency in the United States dollar or the European Union or the EU currency, which is euros. They prefer rather buying gold, diamonds. They decide now countries are now investing into real commodities and not dollars or the euros, because once you invest into the euro or dollar, anything can happen to you at any time. The West can just decide to take your money for free. So countries don't trust the West again, and that has become a big problem for the West. Quite interesting. Even Volkswagen is laying off workers. VW, the #1 car producer in this world. This may sound strange to some of you, but VW is the #1 car producer in this world. Most of these fancy cars you see is owned by VW. Yes, they produce a lot of stuff, right? When it was time for Benjamin Netanyahu to speak in UN General Assembly meeting, some decided to leave and they started booing him. Because recently, I gave the update on this same platform. Benjamin Netanyahu said he's never going to allow a Palestinian independent state. Today, during a press conference meeting with Donald Trump said he's not going to allow Israel to annex Gaza completely. By the way, watch the video.
Please, order in the hall. Please, order in the hall, and please be seated. Please, order in the hall.
Sarkozy is currently jailed 5 years in connection to Muammar Gaddafi assassination. You see, this Sarkozy guy, when we say somebody is ungrateful, then Sarkozy is typical example of an ungrateful human being. Muammar Gaddafi supported Sarkozy 100%. He gave a lot of money to France, and this Sarkozy guy played a key role in the assassination of Muammar Gaddafi, because personally, Muammar Gaddafi gave him a lot of loan, and I think this guy was not ready to pay back these loans, and that is why he decided to support NATO to get out Muammar Gaddafi. Let's go into the details of the story. Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy has been sentenced to 5 years in jail after being found guilty of criminal conspiracy in a case related to millions of euros of illicit funds from late Libyan leader Colonel Muammar Gaddafi. I'm struggling a bit because of my eyes. When the sun shines this way, or when the reflection hits my eyes, I struggle to see anything. By the way, let's continue. The Paris Criminal Court acquitted him of all other charges, including passive corruption and illegal campaign financing. Okay, the ruling means he will spend time in jail even if he launches an appeal, which Sarkozy says he intends to. Speaking after Thursday hearing, the 70-year-old, who was president from 2007 to 2012, said the verdict was extremely serious for rule of law. Let's continue. You are talking about rule of law here. You went into a sovereign country, unalive the president, and you are here talking about rule of law. Where was that rule of law when you guys went and eliminated Muammar Gaddafi? Right? Well, let me add this. I even forgot. How many of you remember this? Muammar Gaddafi, when he was trying to create a reserve currency for Africa, Muammar Gaddafi stockpiled a lot of gold, which was meant for Africa to use as our reserve currency. The big question we all ask is, where did that gold go? Because for some strange reasons, after the assassination of Muammar Gaddafi, that gold was nowhere to be found. You get a point? Sarkozy and his guys took all the gold. I believe he didn't give it to France. I don't think France will be jailing him today if the money went to France's economy. I think he personally took some of the money, and that is why he's been jailed now. I mean, if the assassination of Muammar Gaddafi was really a real crime, then I think most leaders will be in jail by now. I believe this Sarkozy guy has done something wrong. That is why today they are jailing him. I don't believe it's just Muammar Gaddafi assassination. Well, let's continue. Okay, Sarkozy, who claimed the case is politically motivated, was accused of using the funds from Muammar Gaddafi to finance his 2007 election campaign. In exchange, I told you guys, this guy took the money for his personal use. Because this is not new. Anybody who know how France operate, these guys keep taking other people's money for free. By the way, if taking other people's money is a crime, then I don't think a single France president will be left out. Because these guys come in Africa here, they loot everything out. This is not new. Okay, let's continue from here. Sarkozy could be sent to prison in Paris in the coming days. A first for a former French president and humiliating blow for a man who has always protested his innocence in this trial and the other legal cases against him. So I'm quoting Sarkozy here. This is what Sarkozy said. He said, "What happened today is of extreme gravity in regards to rule of law and for the trust one can have in justice system." Sarkozy said outside the court building. Okay, you are talking about rule of law. Interesting. Okay. What about Muammar Gaddafi? Since losing his re-election bid in 2012, Sarkozy has been targeted by several criminal investigations. He also appealed against a February 2024 ruling which found him guilty of overspending on his 2012 re-election campaign, then hiring a PR firm to cover it up. He was handed 1 year sentence, of which 6 months were suspended. In 2021, he was found guilty of trying to bribe a judge in 2012. Okay, and it became the first. Became the first former French president to get a custodial sentence. Well, the bottom line is, I believe this Sarkozy guy is being prosecuted for other reasons, not just, Muammar Gaddafi assassination. Because if that's the case, then I don't think Obama should be walking around. Tony Blair, all these guys, look at what they did in Libya. They told us that they were going to Libya to support the people of Libya. NATO went in, bombarded Muammar Gaddafi palace day and night. They captured him, and we all know what happened to Muammar Gaddafi. It is a sad story. But by the way, these guys, I think they are covering up. I don't think Sarkozy case is mainly Muammar Gaddafi. No. I don't think Muammar Gaddafi took the, I don't think Sarkozy took the money alone. No. Because it was a lot of money. Note, Muammar Gaddafi was creating a reserve currency for the whole of Africa. So this should tell you that the money is huge. So these guys, I think he's being targeted for other reasons, not just that. By the way, let's go to the next story. So according to Donald Trump, if America was in war in Ukraine, they could win the war in just 1 week. Quite interesting. You watch the video before I talk. Just watch what he said.
They have put it all out on the line. Their economy is going to hell. They're bombing the hell out of everything, and they're picking up a very little territory, if any. In fact, they're losing some territory. So,
yes, let's clap hands for Donald Trump. He's saying the truth. So, it would have taken the American army just 1 week in Ukraine. Yes. Just exactly how in Ukraine counteroffensive, when America committed a lot of resources, they defeated the Russians just in 3 days in 2023. So he's saying the truth, right? Exactly how the Americans defeated Vietnam in 1 week. Exactly how America defeated Afghanistan in 1 week. Exactly how they defeated Iraq in 1 week. NATO, together with America, combined their forces together. They defeated Yugoslavia in just 1 week. So he's saying the truth. By the way, let's go into other stories. Now, there is something weird going on around Alaska. The Russians have built a military base and they continue to send in more and more weapons to Alaska, around Alaska. Chukotka and Alaska are neighboring countries, right? So Russia and America, they share border. But the Russians continue to build military base, very close to Alaska. And I don't know exactly what or the reason why they are building this military base. According to some experts, this military base, they are building it purposely for the Arctic, So I'm still not clear why the Russians are building this military base there, right? So when you look between America, Canada, and Russia, the Arctic, it is a free zone with a lot of resources. And I don't know what the Russians are up to exactly in the Arctic. Now, even the Europeans are now seeing it clear. So the video I created 2 days ago and yesterday, I told you guys about this Donald Trump tweet. You know, people were all over the internet. Trump is now going to support Ukraine. I told you guys that no, that is not what I see now. Even the EU is seeing this clear that whatever President Trump tweeted, you know, it was out of emotions. He's basically pushing all the responsibility to Western Europeans. Now, listen to what Poland Prime Minister said. Trump shifting the responsibility for ending the Ukraine conflict for EU, according to Polish Prime Minister. Exactly. When you read the tweet carefully, Trump said, we are going to continue selling weapons to the European Union. Then the European Union will now give it to Ukraine. So clearly, the tweet, many people misunderstood what Trump said. Yes, he said Russia is weak, blah, blah, blah. But you don't expect Trump to say any good thing about Russia, obviously. They are adversaries, so there's nothing wrong if Trump is saying bad things about Russia. But the bottom line or the point is, Trump is not going to help Ukraine militarily. Everything is now on Western Europeans. I hope this is clear now. Even they are now admitting it. Remember, I started telling you guys this 2 days ago, and they are now saying whatever I said. They are saying the same thing. It's a fact. So those who are jubilating that Trump is going to, you know, fight against the Russians, blah, 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 that is not the case. I hope it's now clear. Now, this is a fuller up story from the yesterday video. So yesterday I told you guys about NATO confusion regarding whether to shoot down Russian fighter jets or not. So Bloomberg gave an update today. This is what Bloomberg said. He said, they said tense meeting. Okay. Europe diplomats warn Russia about readiness to respond to violation of their airspace, according to Bloomberg. Among other things, the EU threatens to shoot down Russia planes. Sources of the publication reports about a certain tense meeting in Moscow held by representatives of British, France, and Germany with one of Russian diplomats. They expressed concern about alleged intrusion of MiG-31 fighter jets into Estonia airspace last week. It is claimed that Russian diplomats implied that these actions were a response to Ukraine's attack on Crimea. He allegedly stated that these operations will have been impossible without NATO support. So Western diplomats just can't get over this MiG-31 incident in Estonia. And this is also a confirmation to the video that I did and told you guys that I believe that Putin is doing this on purpose. So according to Bloomberg, this publication, they are saying that the Russians did this because of NATO support for Ukraine. So this is kind of like a warning to NATO, right? So the Russians, clearly, I don't know whether this publication is true or not, because they are saying allegedly. The Russian diplomat said, well, we did this because of your support for Ukraine to attack our civilians in Crimea. Quite interesting. When you look at NATO response, to be honest with you, NATO response to the Estonia incident was very poor. The Russians were there for only God knows how long. According to NATO, they were there for 12 minutes. It could be possibly more than that. So if the Russians wanted to do something, they would have done it long even before NATO could even intercept, because they were there for too long. And they went in with a MiG fighter jet, and the MiG fighter jet can outrun all American modern fighter jets or NATO fighter jets. So if they wanted to do something, they would have done it long time. 12 minutes is too much. Even if we should take what they said as true, if it is true that the Russians were there for even 12 minutes before they were able to intercept them, then that is very poor. And these guys still can't get over it. They continue to talk about it all the time. So almost a week ago, we spoke about Spain Prime Minister on this same channel in one of my updates. So in UN General Assembly meeting, Spain Prime Minister asked another question. And I believe this question is on millions of people's mind. We keep asking the same question. Listen to what he said. Spanish Prime Minister Sanchez accused the West of selective application of international norms. In February 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. The US The European Union and most of international community condemned it, imposed sanctions, and supported the victim. What prevents us from condemning what prevents us from condemning with the same determination? Now, most Western countries were surprised that when the Russians invaded Ukraine, most countries in the global south didn't condemn the Russians. They even supported the Russians, because a lot of people saw this as pure hypocrisy from the West. Because you guys have done it in other places. Your allies are doing the same thing to other people. You are not condemning it. You are not sanctioning them. But when the Russian incident just came out, all of you guys came out and you started condemning, started attacking Russia. He's asking the question. We all know what Israel is doing. Why are we not condemning it? Why are we not imposing the same sanctions on Israel? So, what do you call it? Spain Prime Minister is asking a very critical question. If you watch the video till the last end, type 360 in the comment section. This will help me understand whether you guys enjoy this long form content or not. So what I'm trying to do this time around is I want to be giving you guys the update in a single video like this. I'll post it in the evening so that everybody will expect when I will release a new video, so that we won't be posting just randomly, right? But if something critical happened in the morning or in the evening or afternoon, I will still post, right? Thank you very much for watching the video once again. I love you guys. Thanks for your endless support. If you watch the video to the last end, type 360 and I will know that you watch the video to the last end. Shalom. See you guys in the next episode.